Killjoys. Everybody has them. You know, you're playing a game, you love it, you're having so much fun, and then all of a sudden you get to that one level, boss, or something just happens, and you weren't having as much fun as you were. In fact, all the fun seems to have just disappeared. Yeah, it's one of those moments. And you just can't have fun anymore. Now, this is a list of my 10 biggest Killjoy moments in video games. If you have your own list, go ahead and leave a comment or make a video response. I'll start it off with number 10.
10th place.
I don't have the exact footage of what I want to talk about, but this should suffice. Pokemon Emerald and Platinum both have the Battle Frontier, which is something I thought was a great replay value. Overcoming these challenges and clearing rounds to earn battle points, within which you could buy special moves or items. It was a much better incentive to play than just the Battle Tower alone. Unfortunately, I've never been able to actually clear all of them with a gold ranking, and it's usually because of one factor: the critical hits. They always come at the worst possible time. It doesn't matter how many times I raise my stats, I'm always going to get hit by something that's either a critical hit or some other little luck value that seems like it was impossible for them to pull off. When I lose to a super effective hit, I can take it. When I lose to something that is luck and not skill based, I just have to put it away for a while.
9th place.
Now, this was something I forgot to bring up in the review for Donkey Kong 64. I mentioned the minigames, but I never talked about the ones that got insanely difficult later on. If you've played DK64, all I have to do is show you these, and you understand the pain I'm talking about. Some of them require your full concentration, that can drive you crazy after a while, and some of them just felt broken. When I was a teenager, I actually got 101% on all 3 files. I have no idea how I did that when I was a teenager. I must have been really good back then. Or obsessed.
8th place.
Mario Sunshine was a fun game that had a lot of great moments to it, but I also had my share of issues with it, and my biggest issue with the game is after you were done collecting all the shine sprites, the only ones left to collect were from those stupid blue coins. You had to collect 10 of them just to get one shine sprite, and they also had a time limit, so if you didn't get there in time, you had to recollect them. It was at this part, I just lost complete interest in Mario Sunshine, and didn't even bother to get the rest of the shine sprites like I would have in Mario 64 or Galaxy.
7th place.
I feel like I could put the entire level of Grunty Industries on this list. I mean, everything about it just kind of bugged me. The environment, the music, getting lost within the 5-story factory. The transformation wasn't as easy to control or as fun to use as it was in Banjo-Kazooie. The only thing I kind of liked about this place was the boss fight with Welder. It was challenging, unlike a lot of the bosses in the game. But the one thing I hated the most was cleaning out the clinkers. Though you may not be able to tell it by the bottom left corner, you have a time limit that counts down. If you don't clean out all the clinkers in time, you will suffocate and die. The place already feels like a giant maze that's kind of hard to navigate through, and the clinkers are hidden behind entrances and on top of very large walls. You turn around and, whoop, there's another one. I'll have to shoot it dead. Now, to be fair, they do give you a hint as to where it is because they make those sounds that you wouldn't want to be near. The first time I played through this, I failed, and I lost track of how long it took me to beat this part. Let's just say this is going to be one of those parts that I skip the next time I play Banjo-Tooie, along with most of Grunty Industries.
6th place.
This is pretty much self-explanatory. I really don't even need to talk about it, all I have to do is show you. And if you don't understand because you haven't played Mario Kart, then go play it. The only question I have is why does the guy in 6th place get the leader shell? It's not like it's really going to help him out that much.
5th place.
Zelda. An awesome series that just seems to get better every time I play it. But it just feels like every time I start up a new file, a thought comes into the back of my head. I am not looking forward to that dungeon. You know what I'm talking about. Everybody has at least one dungeon that they don't like in a Zelda game. In most of them, anyway. Hey, I already did a list about my favorite and hated Zelda dungeons, so I don't think I need to go into that much detail. Let's just get to the next entry.
4th place.
The last act on Ninja Gaiden for the NES, as you would expect, is the hardest in the game. Especially this part where it's being protected by a sword thrower and a bird that comes out of nowhere. Once you've gotten past it, you feel like you actually accomplished something, and then you remember the game's not over yet. Until you arrive at the final boss, and guess what? There's 3 forms. They give you full health every time you beat one of the forms, but if you lose, you go all the way back to the beginning of Act 6. Dying at the end of the game's final boss is never fun for any game. But when you have to start all over again, you might get so frustrated you'll start to play another game instead.
3rd place.
The first Kingdom Hearts game was actually kind of hard for me to get into, but it finally was starting to pick up some pace, and the boss fights were starting to become challenging, yet fair at the same time, up until you got to this boss fight. The Maleficent Dragon is constantly attacking, either by biting, ground pounding, or breathing chunks of fire that scatter everywhere. Stay there, and if it gets on you, you'll slowly lose health. And her attacks are so powerful, you'll be spending your time casting Heal and Wind more than you'll be able to attack. What's worse is that when you die, and you will, you'll have to watch that cutscene over and over and over and over and over and just get to 2nd place.
2nd place.
When Metroid's focusing on shooting, gaining power-ups, and exploring, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Backtracking, on the other hand, is not so much fun. Not for me, anyway. And it's because of this element, I've never really been able to get into the series. Now, Prime 3 didn't have it that much, and in fact, it's actually my favorite in the series. Prime 2, it felt like you had to backtrack 4 times in the same area. I just don't understand why they don't have it where you can warp to these areas like you could in Zelda. However, this next entry makes Metroid look like a walk in the park. If you've played this, you know exactly what I'm about to talk about. Force Gemini is actually a really cool game. It's a third-person shooter adventure game. The combat was a lot of fun. Even though it had some issues such as some wonky controls and camera angles at times, it was still a lot of fun. But once you had encountered the main antagonist of the game for the first time and beaten him, that's where the game takes a huge nosedive. In order to beat the game, you had to do 2 things. 1, you had to collect all these ship parts. That may not sound so bad, except they don't even give you a clue as to where they are. And some parts can only be collected by certain characters. And if you try to switch in between missions, you'll have to restart the level all over again. Or from where the new character last left off. And here's the other part. You see that little guy? That little koala gremlin type guy? Yeah, that's called a tribal. And you have to collect each one of them that's been captured on each planet. And no, it's not like, oh, I just collected 5 out of 7, I'll just come back and get the last 2 later. Nope. You have to collect all of them at once, otherwise it doesn't count. Yeah, it's kind of like those music notes from the first Banjo-Tooie game. Except these things can actually die. And some of them have been placed into crossfires, so if you don't find it in time... Oh crap, he died. I'm gonna have to start this level all over again. Sound like fun? I didn't think so. Well, that's my list of my 10 biggest killjoy moments in video games. If you have your own list, leave a comment or make a video response. And if you need time to think about yours, I can wait.